Alright boys, welcome to week 1 team builder where we are facing my roommate, Obo, who you can check out on the top right hand corner. This is going to be the first matchup for our GBU team. We had an unofficial match last week against Star. This is the first match that matters for the regular season, and it's against the co-owner of the league, Obo. If you guys missed the draft stream or my draft analysis, you can check out the draft stream in the top right hand corner. You can also check out all of the coaches down in the description below, and be sure to join the Discord server to keep up with all of the GBU action, and check out my watch along streams every single Sunday. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the team builder, because this is going to be a long one. I usually put a lot of effort into week 1's prep, other than last season of BBR, because it was like BBR right next to BBR, and it was a lot, and I was really burnt out. But I have taken the break, I've breathed, I am ready and good to go for week 1. If you missed our draft analysis, like I said, you can check that out in the top right hand corner, or if I just forgot to put it there, like I probably will, our team is Great Tusk, Clefable, Heatran, Rotom Wash, Iron JUGULIS, Snorlax, Weavile, Weezing, Sinistch, Teabag, and Oricorio. And we are TERA Flying and TERA Poison on our Iron JUGULIS. And then Obo's team is going to be Garchomp, Chi-Yu, Quaquaval, Rabombi, TERA Revavroom, which is Flying and Water, Azelf, Decidueye, Gastrodon, Hoopa, and Komala. So a couple of things with Obo's team, the first of which is his team is extremely ground weak, so something like our Great Tusk does extremely well in this matchup. His team also gets completely outsped by Weavile, which is something that is going to be really, really nice. My first impressions on the matchup are, first of all, I know for a fact he's going to be either Stealth Rock or Spikes 3 attack with a special Garchomp in this matchup. I just have so many physical walls that Garchomp doesn't really care for. So if he brings it, he is going to be special, maybe Life Orb, maybe Leftovers, maybe even Rocky Helmet, and he's going to be Spikes or Stealth Rocks, or even both with Draco, Earth Power, and then potentially maybe even just Dragon Pulse to be able to not get that special attack drop, or he could simply be mixed. The second Pokemon that I think he has to guarantee bring is going to be Quaquaval. Other than that, he does not have any Weavile counterplay on his entire team. Rough Skin, Rocky Helmet, Garchomp, but with the Icicle Spirit now being a new addition for Weavile, it doesn't really matter. Quaquaval is going to come, and I do think it's going to be at least max HP, probably Rocky Helmet. It's going to be more of a defensive set. Roost, Flip Turn, and then Dual Stabs is kind of what I am expecting. Whether it be Aqua Step or Wave Crash, I'm not sure. Maybe Aqua Step just because of the utility it provides, but Wave Crash would also make sense if he just wants damage on the incoming Clefable. Next up, I have gaslit this man into thinking Revavroom does not have a good matchup, or at least that I don't believe that Revavroom has a good matchup. All week, I've been telling him how bad Revavroom is into this and how I pulled the easiest matchup I will have all season. That's not the case. I think it's extremely 50-50, but the one Pokemon that I do think destroys us and does the best in this matchup is going to be TERA, specifically Water, Revavroom. If he is simply Taunt, Shift Gear, Terra Blast, and Gunk Shot, that probably is going to get a sweep sooner or later if he is some form of hazards on his Garchomp. That set goes crazy. He could also be Sub in that last slot instead of Taunt, or he could just be Iron Head in case he doesn't want to miss on the Clefable. The scariest set into the specific team that we are bringing is going to be Taunt, Shift Gear, 2 attacks. It has a really good matchup and is probably going to be his best Revavroom matchup all season. Other than our Weezing, we don't have a lot of counterplay, and I have totally made this man think that he has a really bad matchup. And the problem with Weezing is overall Weezing does fine in some aspects of this matchup, like Garchomp and Revavroom, but it lets in the Hoopa Unbound every single time, it lets in the Chi-Yu every single time, Azelf every time. It makes us lose a lot of momentum. So while I like Weezing for specifically the Revavroom, we don't necessarily have the pivots into the Pokemon that it lets in, specifically Hoopa Unbound, which is going to be the next Pokemon that I think Obo is going to have on his team. Hoopa goes crazy in this matchup, and it's very hard to pin down a set. He could be Life Orb mixed. I really don't think you're choiced into this matchup. If you are choiced, then I have Pokemon that will be able to take advantage of you once I figure that out. He could also just be sub 3 attacks with Leftovers. There's a lot of versatility that Hoopa could provide in this matchup, but I think Hoopa is probably the second best Pokemon in this matchup. And then the last 2 slots are extremely up in the air. I think it's between Chi-Yu, Azelf, and Gastrodon. I think those 3 Pokemon all make a lot of sense. Gastrodon probably makes the most sense. It can carry whatever hazard Garchomp doesn't. It has recovery. It's his switch into Heatran. I would think that would make a lot of sense. And then Chi-Yu, like, it has a really bad matchup. This is why this Pokemon sucks, man. We have Snorlax, we have Clefable, we have Heatran, we have Rotom Wash. None of these Pokemon necessarily invalidate the Chi-Yu, but it makes Chi-Yu's life a lot harder, and unless he wants to bring like a Specs Breaker maybe, I don't really see Chi-Yu coming, and I think Azelf would make a little bit more sense, but I think either of those make sense in that last slot. It wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world to see Chi-Yu come. The other Pokemon that have a chance of coming, I think this is a really bad Ribombee matchup. He doesn't have a spin blocker, so Great Tusk is able to get a spin off every single time. Unless his game plan is to force that spin, I don't think Ribombee ever comes, especially because webs don't really do anything against a majority of my team, except for probably Weavile. And then Decidueye doesn't make a ton of sense. It loses to our ground type because of Ice Spinner and Knockoff. It lets in Heatran for free. Weavile can pressure it. Iron Jugulis can pressure it. I really don't ever see Decidueye coming. And I'm not even going to talk about Kamala. He's not bringing Kamala into Great Tusk. This season, we're going to start the team builder every single time with the one Pokemon that will come no matter what. Iron Jugulis. I'm so excited to be bringing this Pokemon, and we are going to be TERA Flying. I think both TERA Flying and TERA Poison had a lot of usability in this matchup, but because his Flying Resist is his TERA Pokemon that cannot TERA into something that resists Flying, we're going to take advantage of that. We have Booster Energy to boost speed because we have no other way to boost speed, and we have Work Up to boost special attack. This Pokemon can get into a prime position to sweep fairly easily. We're Hurricane and Terra Blast. Hurricane we do need for a couple of different roles, and then Terra Blast for 100% accuracy. And then Dark Pulse is going to be the best neutral move that we have to hit all types Revavroom can possibly be. While I do think Water is the best in this matchup, I don't think Flying is out of place by any means. So having Dark Pulse to be able to hit that is going to be very crucial. We do about 85% to a no bulk Revavroom at +1. We're 8 HP, 128 defense, 164 special attack, and 208 speed timid. The whole game plan, we do not send this Pokemon out until it's time to win the game. Our Jugu can live 2 Banded Hoopa Hyperspaces or 2 Adamant Quaquaval Aqua Steps, and then we can outspeed the Garchomp. This Pokemon can get a workup off pretty easily, specifically if he's choiced Chi-Yu or choiced on his Hoopa Unbound. We want to take advantage of that. It honestly doesn't take too much for this Pokemon to get into a position to OHKO everything on our opponent's team. We are going to have to work for that a little bit, and we really have to prevent Revavroom from setting up, because once that happens, it's pretty much game over. But as long as we can do that, our Iron Jugulis should be able, keyword should, to win the game, as long as we land some Hurricanes. Our next Pokemon is going to be Erupti the Heatran. Heatran overall has a really good matchup. It's going to force uncomfortable switches into either the Garchomp or the Quaquaval if we don't see the Gastrodon, and if we do see the Gastrodon, we can get some pretty consistent damage on that Pokemon. This is going to be our rocker. He doesn't really have great removal. It's Decidueye, which I don't think comes, and Quaquaval, which I don't think has the move slots for Rapid Spin in this matchup. And then we're Will-O-Wisp to punish a Revavroom that potentially wants to set up on us, a Quaquaval that wants to switch in, or a Garchomp that wants to switch in. We're Magma Storm to catch whatever those Pokemon may be. We are probably going to Willow first and then Magma Storm the following turn, depending on if he brings Gastrodon or not. And then we're Body Press for neutral damage on something like the Chi-Yu, because this should be a catch check to Chi-Yu. It doesn't check that Pokemon by any means, but if he locks into the wrong move, or if it's his last Pokemon, Body Press will be able to take that guy out, because otherwise he just doesn't have great fire resist, and we don't have a grass move to hit Gastrodon. Other than Solar Beam, but I very much value the Sugar Berry in this matchup because of Garchomp and because of potential Stomping Tantrum on Revavroom. If he's Terra Flying, he will be Stomping Tantrum, and he could just be Stomping Tantrum for the damage output on our Heatran anyway. Our Heatran is 200 HP, 116 defense with a bold nature, 28 special attack, 64 special defense, and 100 speed. This allows us to live a +1 Revavroom high horsepower if Adamant with the Sugar Berry. We can live a +1 Adamant Terra Blast Water from Revavroom. We can live a Specs Modest Chi-Yu Dark Pulse after Rocks, and we outspeed a Hoopa, creeping our 12 speed Great Tusk. And we can also live 2 Hoopa Dark Pulses non-boosting item, rest in special attack. Heatran is here just to spread damage, try to get damage on the things that Iron Jugulis cannot OHKO, while also being a Pokemon that prevents Revavroom from setting up with Will-O-Wisp potential, and even just trapping it with Magma Storm and doing a lot of damage. Even if he is Terra Water and he is Taunt, is going to be very important. Getting rocks up isn't detrimental to the game plan, but it can be nice to break potential sashes or to see what potential item the Chi-Yu is if he ends up bringing it. Our next Pokemon is going to be our guaranteed lead. We are going to be Snitch the Weavile with the Focus Sash. We're going to be Taunt, Shard, Icicle Spear, and Knockoff. Taunt in this matchup specifically because I am totally willing to sack this Pokemon if it means I'm able to prevent the Revavroom from setting up. Ice Shard for priority on something like a Garchomp, a weakened Chi-Yu, a Terra Flying Revavroom, and a Hoopa Unbound. Icicle Spear I like a lot in this matchup because, first of all, it doesn't pop Rough Skin, which is very important, and second of all, if he is Yashi on Garchomp, which is a very realistic possibility, and he leads that Pokemon, we click Icicle Spear, we pop the Yashi, we get another hit, and Garchomp goes down. I actually think we would have to get 3 hits in order to kill that Pokemon, but nonetheless, I like Icicle Spear a lot for those 2 reasons. And then Knockoff is extremely unresisted. We're simply max attack adamant, 248 speed with 8 in defense because we want to get as much as we possibly can from wishes from a Pokemon that we have later down the line. We simply outspeed the Azelf, creeping the Iron Jugulis, max attack adamant to do as much damage as possible, and we are going to use this as a lead breaker. Probably click knockoff turn 1, even though Quaquaval with what I assume can be a Rocky Helmet will come in, or if he leads Garchomp, we're going to click Icicle Spear. Our next Pokemon is going to be our Chi-Yu answer, our Pokemon that kind of makes Chi-Yu a little bit useless. We're going to be Snorlax with the Resto Chesto with Encore, Body Slam, and Heat Crash. Encore prevents the Revavroom from setting up in our face. Body Slam potentially spreads paras, and we can click that pretty freely in the face of Chi-Yu if he doesn't decide to do a ton of damage to us. And Heat Crash allows us to put pressure on a Revavroom that has not yet set up, as well as hit the Decidueye, which is the only other thing that Body Slam did not hit. 40 HP, 68 attack, 152 defense, and 248 special defense with a careful nature. We can live a +1 Revavroom Adamant Gunk. We can take 2 hits from the Modest Specs Chi-Yu to Dark Pulses. We put the rest in attack, and this Pokemon is going to be our check to Chi-Yu. It can also alleviate pressure from both Azelf and Hoopa Unbound, and if he has a special Garchomp, we can also sit on that. I didn't like having the leftovers, and we didn't really need a 4th slot, so I went ahead and went Resto Chesto. I may regret this decision, but I do think that it's probably the best choice since we're not really going to be switching into hazards. At least I don't really expect to in this matchup. Our next Pokemon is going to be our Quaquaval check if he does decide to bring an offensive Quaquaval, as well as our Garchomp check, and it also helps versus Hoopa and Chi-Yu. It's going to be our Clefable, Wish, Protect, Moonblast, and Lagging Tail Trick. Lagging Tail Trick is here because his only real switching to this Pokemon is probably going to be Revavroom, and we can trick the Lagging Tail on there and not be complete setup fodder for that Pokemon. I do have to be a little bit wary if he does end up bringing the Gastrodon, because I obviously don't want to trick the Lagging Tail on the Gastrodon because that won't really do anything. But if he's not taunt Revavroom and I am in the face of the Revavroom and he has the potential to shift gear, I am just going to go ahead and try to trick the Lagging Tail on that Pokemon. With 248 HP, 184 defense with a bold nature and 76 special defense. This allows us to take 2 Aqua Steps from a max attack Life Orb Adamant Quaquaval, which I really don't expect, but just in case, this is going to be our check to that Pokemon. And I thought about a lot of different sets for this Pokemon. I thought about Light Clay with dual screens. I thought about Kevia Berry with just a real last attacking move because we do so much damage to Revavroom as is. But I decided that this would be better if he doesn't bring Gastrodon. We're able to get the trick off and at least cripple 1 Pokemon. And then lastly, we're going to bring a really cool Great Tusk set. And I'll be honest with you guys, I had 4 different Tusk sets built. I had one that was Rest Talk, I had one that was AV, I had one that was Room Service to destroy him in Trick Room, but was fast enough outside of Trick Room. If it got the Rapid Spin boost, it could still outspeed pretty much everything that was supposed to be speed creeping, things like Oricorio, which was a really cool set. It might have been the most fire thing that I ever brought, but unfortunately, it was paired with Sinastcha, which is the 7th Pokemon I almost brought. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to bring that set. As you can see on screen, I did end up bringing just a Booster Energy set, which is going to be a little bit of Fizz Def here, with Rapid Spin, Bulk Up, Headlong Rush, and Ice Spinner. Ground plus Ice Stab in most matchups is going to be plenty. In this matchup, it is no different. Rapid Spin, we need to have just because he has webs, and if for whatever reason he does bring it, it does mess up my plans, specifically with Weavile just a little bit. It's not the most annoying by any means, but that paired with Spikes can be fairly annoying, so I decided to tack on Rapid Spin. On top of that, we have Bulk Up because this has potential to sweep late in the game. We are Booster Energy Defense to catch a Revavroom. We can live a +1 Adamant Revavroom Terra Blast Water with this Booster Energy, so I felt like that was super important to always have this Pokemon. Headlong Rush is very unresisted. Ice Spinner hits the things that Headlong Rush does not hit, at least for neutrally. We hit pretty much everything on his team. We do hit everything for at least neutral damage. We're 8 HP, 72 attack, 68 defense with an Impish nature, 236 special defense, and 124 speed. This allows us to outspeed the Azelf after a Rapid Spin. We can live a Scarf Chi-Yu Psychic if he is not modest. And like I said, we can live a +1 Adamant Life Orb Revavroom Terra Blast after 1 Spike, and then we went the remainder in attack. I think this set's really cool. I'm very much so able to burn this Booster Energy a lot earlier than I would like if the Revavroom gets out of hand early, or I can just burn the booster to catch something like the Quaquaval, because Quaquaval actually, if he's defensive, does not do that much damage to Great Tusk, and we can actually set up in its face, which is a really cool benefit of being this very bulky Great Tusk. If he doesn't bring Azelf, I actually expect this Pokemon to put in the utmost work, but its main priority is just going to be, hey, Revavroom, stop what you're doing, man. You can't keep doing that. And that is going to be the team against Obo. I had a really cool team with Sinastcha plus the Room Service Great Tusk, but I wasn't confident enough in it to bring it. I'm very confident in this team. I think the only thing that I'm iffy on is that Lagging Tail Clefable. But other than that, I think the team is fantastic. I think we just need to get into a position to set up Iron Jugulis to win, which honestly, Doesn't take that much, and we just have to ensure Revavroom does not beat us. This is certainly a battle of the TERA Titans, two of the best TERA Pokemon in the format, and it really comes down to whoever can set up their TERA Pokemon first. That might mean we get a little bit aggressive and we have to get our Jugu in on something that we otherwise would not want to get it in on, but as long as we can get that Jugu in safely, maybe off of a Clefable Wish, we should be able to win this game pretty handedly with JUGULIS, as long as we do not let Revavroom set up. That is the #1 key factor to us not losing this game. With that being said, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here so I can play Obo, who I am so excited to play, but I'm sure I'll shout him out in the video. Be sure to check out all of the GBU coaches down in the description below, and be sure to join the GBU Discord server. And if you haven't already, man, make sure you're subscribed. We are so close to 2,000 subs at the time of me recording this, and you might not be subbed. You might think you are, but you might not be. So just go down there and check for me, man. Thank you guys so much for watching. And for now, guys, this has been John Jr. signing off.